evening. It is about 6:48, I believe, or 6:49. And as you can see up there, I got a positive and a negative items to read off. Basically it's right up there. It says, basically what it says is reading off, reading a positive and negative Sally entries, if you will, by fans. Now there is one fan, I'm not going to pronounce the name, nor will I pronounce this person's name, but we're going to start off with the positives from this first fan. And this first fan basically indicates in their own way that the reason for Sally's redesign, in their own reasoning, their own opinion, is because from a comic book and SatAM standpoint, next year, 2013, will be 20 years since Sally's been around. Not including when she was Ricky the Squirrel and then changed into Sally for the cartoon and for the comics. Now, basically, in their opinion, they feel that the reason the redesign happened for next year is to kind of possibly get Sega to probably allow them to celebrate Sally's 20 years with them. Basically, in this person's opinion, they feel that this is Archie's way of trying to get Sega to embrace the character even more so, because in their opinion, this is how Sega would have designed her for the games, and perhaps this would help, in their opinion, to not only get Sally possibly into the games, but to finally have Sega celebrate at least her 20 years in the comics, and kind of capitalize on that celebration of Sally being a part of the franchise for 20 years with merchandise, by basically making money on reissued merchandise like the Sega World plush and whatever else Sega World sold at that time. Bring it basically forward into the mainstream and see what happens from there. But that's their opinion, and they're entitled to it, and that does sound like positive news. It does sound like positive news that from a fan's point of view, that does sound like some positive fan news and everything. That to hear a fan say, "Hey, look, maybe the reason for this redesign is for Archie Comics to get Sega to acknowledge Sally's appeal, to make them acknowledge that, hey, she is a very popular character, and that you should take advantage of this. And she's like Sonic in some way. She's just as mainstream, and if you will, no, not as mainstream, but she's just as popular and well known as Sonic, and that you should take advantage of that by celebrating not only her 20 years, but capitalizing on it with the design that Archie Comics is saying, hey, basically saying, hey, this is probably how you guys would design it for the games. And two, hey, there's a lot of merchandise out there that you can reissue and bring mainstream and see how it goes, and see how well it does, and basically celebrate it. Those 20 years. Now that is positive news, and I agree. It does sound like that would be a great opportunity for Sega to take advantage of. But that's just one fan's opinion, but it is something positive, and I agree. Whether or not, we should at least celebrate, whether or not Sega would even acknowledge that, we should at least celebrate Sally's and the other SatAM characters' existence in 2013, because of 20 years being part of the franchise, whether we like the redesign or designs or not. But of course, where there's positive, there's also negative. And of course, we do have some negative. This is by another viewer, or not another viewer, but another fan. And basically, they flat out said this. This is basically what they flat out said. They posted this about 6 hours ago, 6 hours, 22 minutes ago. And this is what this person said. And by the way, I will provide a link to both topics, if you will, if you want to look at them yourself. But basically, this is what they said, and I quote, The title of their topic is Why the Sally Sacrifice is Bull Beep, if you get what I mean. And this is what they say, and I quote, "Okay, there's a lot of fan art and people saying how Sally's quote-unquote sacrificed, saying how Sally quote-unquote sacrificed herself to save Mobius. A lot of people love this quote-unquote tragic moment. Well, guess what? The Sally Sacrifice is, and they had a big picture of Penn and Teller on there that says Bull Beep, if you know what I mean. And this is what they say. Here is why it is Bull Beep. 1. It was unnecessary. Anything I know about sacrifices in media is that they always have to absolutely, positively, necessarily, or have to be absolutely, positively necessary. Well, Sally's sacrifice was unnecessary. There are many ways the Death Egg could have been destroyed. We could have had an epic duel between Supersonic and Eggman's new Deathbot, where the clock is ticking, and Sonic defeats the robot and sets off a chain reaction that causes an eternal explosion, that causing the Death Egg to lose orbit. Sonic and his friends escape just in time and watch it burn up in the planet's atmosphere. Here. Instead of getting that, Ian Flynn follows the old cliche that destroying a doomsday weapon requires self-sacrifice. Destroying doomsday weapons does not require self-sacrifice. For example, did Luke Skywalker have to kill himself to blow up Death Egg Mark I? No, he didn't. And he actually got some character development out of that. But guess what Ian does? He has Sally push the, capitalized on all three words, the freaking button. Okay, moving on. We all know Sally is just going to come back. Okay, moving on. Number 2, Sally comes back. Number 2, she comes back. We all know Sally is just going to come back after her quote-unquote sacrifice in 225. She came back and had another quote-unquote sacrifice in 230. And we know because of that crappy new design that she is just going to come back again. It is, capitalized, not a sacrifice. Ice. Okay, it is, capitalized, not a sacrifice if they are just going to come back. That's like saying Kenny McCormick sacrifices himself every time he dies. Capitalized on all 5 words. That's not how it works. 3. You don't do it to characters like Sally. When you have a character sacrifice themselves, you do not, capitalize on 2 words, you do not have it be a character that touched many people's hearts, that is loved deeply by the fans, and has been in the series its whole run. All that you do is upset the fans. It is like you are, capitalized, trying to get haters. Conclusion. Okay, those were his 3 points right there, I should say. Now, conclusion. From what I could tell, what happened to Sally was not self-sacrifice. It is character torture with a pretty word attached to it. Actually, that is what they are doing. They are torturing a beloved character to play with the fans' emotions in order to roll in more dough. Okay, so basically, what this fan is saying is that if you're going to sacrifice a character, the character needs to stay sacrificed, right? That is true in some points, but you got to remember, but I think this person has to remember, and I'm pretty sure people point this out to them, this is an all-ages comic. It's not like X-Men, it's not like Superman, Justice League, and Avengers. It doesn't have the rating on it to let you know whether it's a kid's comic or not. This on all ages, whether it's an all-ages comic or not. Basically what they're saying is no matter how you look at it, this is an all ages comic. It's not limited to a certain age group. It's not PG rated. Well, I guess in a sense you could say at times it seems to be PG rated. But it's not totally PG rated. It's not PG-13. It's mainly, it's not PG-LV or TV PG-SLV or whatever, or TV-V, well, you get the idea. It's not none of that. It's not TV-14, God forbid. Basically what it is an all-ages comic. So in an all-ages comic, what this person has to understand is self-sacrifice or sacrifice is done differently than it is in an X-Men or in a Marvel or DC title like X-Men or Justice League or Avengers or Batman or Spider-Man. It's done differently. That's what it is. It's done differently. It's not done the same way that you would think others need to be done. It's done differently. You take a look at the 1990s animated adaptation of X-Men. When they did the 1990s animated series of X-Men, when they did their adaptation in the third season of both Phoenix sagas, did Jean Grey totally sacrifice herself? Yes, she did. Was she gone for good? No, she wasn't. She came back, just like she did in the comics. But in the comics, it's different. She comes back, but then she dies, and she's gone for good for a while. You get the idea. You get the idea. She's kind of a different scenario, but when she did originally sacrifice herself, that was it. People thought that was it, right? But, of course, there was other situations and stuff, but still, she was gone for quite a period of time. But she did sacrifice herself. When an all-ages cartoon version of X-Men does it, she does sacrifice herself, and it seems that she's gone, but then she comes back and she stays. She doesn't sacrifice herself again like she does in the anime adaptation of X-Men, or in the comics, some of the comics versions of the Dark Phoenix saga. She doesn't do that. She stays she stays sacrificed. But it's because those comics and the anime are not all ages, not like the 1990 series was. So that's what this person has to understand. There's a difference between all ages and certain age comics. Certain comics for certain ages, if you get the idea. So, but hopefully they understand that. Again, sacrifice is kind of done differently when it's an all-ages comic. So, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But let me know what you guys think down below. I'll provide the links to both topics in the description box. Comment if you like. Take care. God bless. I'm out.